Hey there, Star Wars fans. Welcome back. Matt and Ez here. Ez, how are we doing today?
Dude, we're doing good. Just, hanging out in hyperspace, bro. Just talking about the things in the galaxy. Good God. Palpatine is really in charge, man.
Dark times.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. You know what? And then, to get us into the topic of the day, dark times when one of the best story ideas that we've ever freaking heard of in the sequel era comes to Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm actually says, yes, this is awesome. Let's go. Let's greenlight this. And what? Bob Iger and these guys say, I don't think so. I'm not sure. Obviously, we're talking about The Hunt for Ben Solo. Are you joking me right now? How was this not greenlit? It's shocking, bro. And apparently they have a full script. They've been working on it. Adam Driver's idea. I kind of lost hope after I saw this. You get hope from it. You're like, all right, this is a great idea. What did they do with it? Is this a new idea? Oh, this is an old idea that just fell to the wayside. And they said, you know what? Acolyte looks like the show for us. Come on.
I mean, you know what this immediately reminded me of is the Jon Snow series. Remember Kit Harington said, hey, I got an idea for it, but it sounded like he was like, yeah, we just can't get the script right. Like they're still working on it. Whereas with this, it sounds like everyone seems to really like it, but maybe it was just the fatigue of the sequels and Mandalorian was popping that they're just like, maybe we should pump the brakes on this.
Yeah, and I wonder too, because you know how Disney said like they're in that big phase with just TV shows, Disney Plus series, and they were kind of like, I would hate to have seen this maybe go to Disney Plus and be squandered, because it does seem like it's a blockbuster. Yeah, exactly. Kenobi was supposed to be that, what was it going to be, a trilogy, or was it going to, even if it's just one movie, whatever, this original script for that movie, the Kenobi movie, was phenomenal, and it's dumbfounding to all of us in the fandom that we went with what we went with. And I think that was because we were trying to feed this monster of Disney Plus. So, I mean, if there is some sort of like hope here, it's that it didn't get thrown to the Disney Plus TV monster machine that just devoured, the black hole that just devoured some of these ideas. It's a blockbuster hit. I mean, really, like The Hunt for Ben Solo would bring us all back to the theater like that. We would be there in a heartbeat, man. I mean, that's what I think. What do you, when you first heard about it, when you first heard about this idea, Hunt for Ben Solo, what'd you think?
I mean, this is what we were all saying, like post Rise of Skywalker, because pre Rise of Skywalker, we're like, man, I don't know what's going to happen. I went back and I made a TikTok about a topic we've been wanting to talk about, the C-3PO thing.
Yeah.
And posted it on our YouTube, and everybody had some comments, and people were saying, yeah, man, I mean, you go back and you look at that trailer, like that final trailer for Rise of Skywalker made the movie look like it was going to be freaking amazing.
I know.
The score was going and everything. It looked like C-3PO was going to die.
Yeah.
And we didn't know the direction that the movie was going to go. So it was still up in the air, but following it, man, we were all so disappointed and let down, but immediately we all, I think you and I certainly, but a lot of, our fans and everybody, people who messaged us over the years, all kind of felt like the same thing. It's like Adam Driver, Ben Solo, Kylo Ren was the by far the best and strongest character of the sequel trilogy. And, for better or worse, some people didn't want Reylo. Some people did. They kind of like went that route, but didn't fully commit to it.
Right.
It felt like that was always the thing. If you were ever going to do anything, that's the route you should go. Is give us more Adam Driver, give us more Ben Solo. That's I think the best character and the best arc for it. And then it makes Rey seem cool, because Rey would be the one searching for him.
I know. That's what's so mind-boggling. It's like, I know that they love Rey, and they wanted this awesome studded female character, cool beans. We were all on board. Let's be honest. We all, Force Awakens, all right, cool. Even Last Jedi, controversial, but okay, where's this going? The hype for that Rise of Skywalker trailer, I'm like, dude, this is going to be sick. You and I literally did weekly episodes, daily even. We were doing daily drops leading into that. Do you remember that? That's like the start of Hyperspace Hangout. You and I were doing these daily drops of just like, what's it going to be? Theories for every single freaking character. They had us so hyped. And I mean, I can't wait to get back to a point in time where we're actually theorizing like that. And The Hunt for Ben Solo will help us do that. But dude, to have Rey lead the search is everything. That's everything Disney wants, is like to give her an important role, to make her matter, and to have a place in all of this, instead of just like the Force Awakens. And she takes a back seat in The Last Jedi. It's okay. Force Awakens is this, you know, kind of weird setup, and then she's overshadowed by all the different stuff with Palpatine and all the stuff with like Ben Solo and everything that's going on in Rise of Skywalker, that you're like, I didn't even notice she was rising. You know what I'm saying? Like, where you took your main character and you just put her, like, she and Finn and everyone else backseat, man, because the story was about like you know, Leia and Ben, and then Harrison Ford coming back, Han Solo. She's a Palpatine. It all gets stolen from her, and you're like, this is insane. So I don't know. I mean, I'd be super stoked to see them actually do this and pull this off. What makes me worried is like, I'm trying to think when Adam Driver said he was going to do this. I know it was several years ago. It was not recent. This is not like a recent thing. This was something back before they had the Rey movie, right? With the new female director, and they were going to make this Rey movie. Daisy Ridley said she read the script. She really liked the movie that they were making for her. Now think about that and say, okay, that's their Disney had to do that because Bob Iger and the folks at Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, says we have to do something with Rey. We have to move something, you know, forward with the sequel series. And what they wanted to do was the hunt for Ben Solo. That gives me a little bit of hope. At least there is some common sense in that company to make a really cool story. And especially Adam Driver's like leading the charge on it, dude. If this doesn't happen, if they don't make this happen, and maybe that's why they halted some of this stuff with the, you know, because the Rey movies sort of slowed down, like that slowed down. I have no idea.
Starfighter, real quick, and Starfighter, they've said is not even connected to the sequels at all. I mean, they're probably going to have something in there, but they said basically there's like, nope, it's its own path going forward, and it's just like,
okay, yeah,
okay, but it's post the sequel, so I mean, it's just.
You know what people care about in Star Wars? They care about the Skywalker saga. It's the whole daggone thing. And so you literally now could have her again. If Rey were to have a child, as I've said, I think that'd actually be cool. That would kind of cement her more as a Skywalker, Solo, whatever. I think they still need to kind of address that situation. But if she were, and Ben did put some of his essence in her, and she is pregnant, or the Force gave her a shot, and they go search for dad, let's go. And he comes back, and maybe he is battling. There's something going on in the nether side of the Force, or what is in their script? What did they come up with? Think about that. There's a script out there where they have an idea as to what happens. I would say to anybody, by the way, if you want to know something that's super sort of like a lofty, trying to think here, that gets pretty philosophical, or it sort of stretches the bounds of the Force and the nether side of the Force, the Fate of the Jedi series is this crazy series where Luke Skywalker is exiled, and in that series, at the end of it, he is doing things where his essence is he's leaving his body, and he's going to different realms in his mind in the Force, and he's traveling, and he's meeting up with Force ghosts, and he's coming across Darth Caedus, who has already been killed, and getting information from him and trying to stop some Sith side prophecy of like, you know, Darth Caedus's daughter being put on the Sith throne. I mean, it's some crazy, crazy stuff. Obviously, there's the Abeloth stuff going on there, real kind of epic high-end things. So they can do this. They've talked about it. It's been there in Legends a little bit, and there are pieces of it that they could maybe, I don't know if they're a part of this hunt for Ben Solo, but like, where is he? You know, he gives up his life for Rey. He becomes one with the Force at the same time that he and his mother, like their Force, their carnal bodies drop, they disappear, and they become one with the Force. Why is he coming? I think that was the thing. Bob Iger is like, why? I can't just see a way in which why he would come back, right? Or what the point of all of this is. He's a dyad in the Force. It's something brand new you guys came up with. Why don't you make that matter? Why don't you make a dyad in the Force actually mean something and matter, and somehow bring him back, or there's some sort of ethereal realm threat that he is facing, and he has to be, you know, brought back to the galaxy. I don't know. It would just be, it would take us to a completely different, very fantastical science fiction realm of Star Wars that we've not really gone to, and it'd be great.
Yeah. It's just so, Man, I mean, you just look at how Disney has handled all of Star Wars, and it's just like so baffling, the decisions that they think are good and the decisions that they believe aren't good, right? Like even like stupid stuff like they did at Disney. Remember the freaking Disney Star Cruiser thing where they said, "Hey, we're going to charge like $5,000 a night for some Disney Star Wars themed hotel like experience," but it's just like Star Wars esque, and I mean, and it freaking like went belly up in like a month because it was so stupid. And
Yeah,
even like the content creators that went there and they're like, this is dumb and
I know.
ridiculously
I know.
expensive. And then actually, I was kind of thinking about this a little bit. I was almost thinking about we could do an episode on it, but I've never watched it. I've seen bits and pieces of it. And like, is Star Wars Resistance the biggest flop in all of Star Wars? Because I mean, I know you think, well, with the sequels and freaking you go back to the holiday special and, you know,
Mhm,
Ewok
mhm,
movies and all this
mhm.
stuff. But like, look at what Clone Wars did. Like
I
Clone
know.
Wars, I think you could make an argument outside of like Empire Strikes Back.
Mhm.
Clone Wars might be the most important piece of Star Wars
Yeah,
content
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because of how it totally changed everyone's opinions about the sequels, totally
Mhm.
expanded the lore, got Dave Filoni to become like the big name in
Oh,
Star
yeah.
Wars. I mean, like Clone Wars is very important to the
Yeah,
overall foundation of where we exist in Star Wars now. But man, it's like Resistance could have maybe been that for the sequels, and it never got it. Like, if you really wanted to go fix the sequels, that's what I would be like. I would tell Dave Filoni, I would say, you need to stop doing Bad Batch and all this other stuff,
yep,
and we need
yep.
you to do essentially Clone Wars, but for the sequels. Because they remember they did do another Clone Wars too. Remember there was the Cartoon Network
Yeah, for
one.
sure.
That
Yeah.
one's also kind of cool. It's a little edgy,
Yeah, it is a
but
little bit,
also
yeah.
like really cartoony. You know, I mean, it's
Right, right.
but you know, but it certainly opened the door for the Clone War, the main Clone War series, if you really want to call it. But
Right.
I mean, that's what the sequels really needs. It really needs like original characters
Mhm,
existing
mhm.
in that universe, expanding it out because we've still never got that. Like we're
No,
still all tied up in Mandalorian and everything, which is what you and I have said we want them to actually focus on. And
sure,
now
yeah.
our focus is going over there.
Dude, you're I
Are they just gonna like strip mine this Ben Solo thing, but well, actually, this piece could work in this project, and like, I feel like that's what
oh
they'll all
god.
happen. They'll green light like 6 things
Yeah.
out of that.
No, please God, no. Please God. Like I'm mad if like nothing has got I mean, honest to God, dude, since okay, you think about ideas, like even this Darth Maul like animated series, which we've talked about, like, okay, it's cool. And I'm like, that sounds like it's pretty awesome. And I'm like, you get different levels of excitement for it. And I'm like, okay, Thrawn's coming back. That's pretty cool. The sequels were the continuation of one of the greatest trilogies of all time. And so and it's fumbled. It starts good and it fumbles. And now you had a way in which to like what's the most exciting thing in Star Wars? It is the continuation of the story. It is where the galaxy is headed. Like this filler stuff is really cool and it's really awesome. But like when you go to a point like when Force Awakens came out, we had no idea what was going on. Everyone's Snoke theories were blowing up. Everyone was trying to guess and talk and having those water cooler talks at the office about what was going to happen. We were doing that. Everyone was caught up in those moments. Now it's like we're having those conversations, but they're kind of like with they're confined. The conversations are confined because they're confined between episode 6 and episode 7. They have to fit in between there somewhere. There's not too much they can do. And they do surprise us here and there with a couple tidbits, like we went to another galaxy in Ahsoka. Okay, I didn't see that coming. That's actually pretty sick. And Thrawn's coming back and Ezra. All right, that's pretty cool. But nothing excites, I think, the fandom more than saying, like, let's either go back to the very beginning and do something that we have no clue what's going to happen, which I think they were maybe trying to do with Acolyte, but it's just too close and they totally fumbled that again. But going forward with characters like Ben Solo and Rey, even the new Rey movie, like forget the hunt for Ben Solo. When they said they're going to do something with Rey, I was like, thank God. Thank God that they're actually just going to come back. Hopefully they're going to, whether it's trash or not, I don't know. We will see, but it's exciting because it's completely unknown. And we didn't know what they were going to do. They can course correct, they can make adjustments, and that would be super sick. Now, as you just said, Clone Wars was freaking huge. All because there are some sort of like there's some weirdness when you just watch episode 2 and
Sure.
episode 3 and you're like, okay, Order 66, how did that happen? Like what we didn't know about the microchips. It answers a lot of questions, so you can go back and answer and fill in some of the gaps. There are things in Rise of Skywalker that don't make sense. They're trying to fill those with comic books and just regular novels. That's not going to work. You to really fill it and to really get kids and a generation to care about that, you should have struck right then and there with some extra stuff built around it in animated series. And included characters like maybe Rey shows up here or there, or Poe Dameron does show up, but there's another batch of characters that follow. Like Ahsoka, get this, Ahsoka does not exist, absolutely does not exist in episodes 1, 2, and 3. As when they make before they make that, they just say Ahsoka is here now, and all of a sudden we just accepted it. This was Anakin's apprentice. I at the time was like, that's baloney. That's not in the movies. That didn't happen. Now I love that character. They did so much work, spent so much time storytelling. So what's the character in the sequels that none of us have met that is actually going to tie all of this together and be the heart and soul and try to bring more context and world building and just filler, I guess, to the sequels? I don't know what it is, but you're right. They should have something like that, and it would be really sick for them to go back and explore that idea versus they're playing safe, which they probably should for a while, going back to the Maul series and doing stuff between episodes 3 and 4. That makes sense. It's risky to go back to the sequels, as we've said many times before. Matt's often brought this up. If the sequels were so good, why have you not built, more around it? Why aren't there more? Yeah, if
the sequels were successful,
right,
they would have made more content around it, and they didn't because they flopped. And like that immediately ticks off some people because they like the sequels, and it's like, I have no problem with you liking the sequels.
No, like,
same. I know, and that was a big war where in Star Wars for a good period of time where it felt like, oh man, like you're just sequel haters, and then like all this other stuff got attached to it, like SJWs, and you're
right,
you're misogynistic and all this stuff. It's like, no, dude, I just thought it was bad content.
That was bad. Yeah.
The same thing with the Acolyte. If the Acolyte was good and people watched it, they would have renewed it, but it wasn't.
It wasn't. And that's the thing, that you don't even really need. I mean, yes, like they read our reaction, they read the reviews, they read the watch time, they have all the metrics, like all the data on who was watching the Acolyte, when they clicked off, when they were done. And so they just decided, wasn't worth the money. It truly did not live up to, yes, people like it. I like Caravan of Courage. They made one sequel to that. Thank God. It's Battle for Endor. So really, there's Teak, this little crazy thing running around. But as a kid, I loved it. It was trash at the time. People were like, did George really make this? And George is almost embarrassed that it like happened,
100%. Yeah.
But now it's like kind of a funny thing in the fandom. Acolyte might be that one day, and maybe somebody will come back and they'll build relevant, cool stories around it, and it'll come back for a season 2. Who knows? I actually wouldn't be opposed to that. That'd be great. But like you said, it's just the decision making here has been it's been a lot of hit or miss. It's been more miss than it's been hit. And the whole we don't like something and then tagging us with these extra sort of politically charged, social labels is crazy, because Andor comes out and it's a very strong female cast and it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. You've got like former actors, Ewan McGregor is saying he wants to sit down and watch it. He watched it in 1 or 2 days or 3 days. He blitzed through it. He loved it. And so you're like, okay, he didn't say that about Acolyte.
No.
It's like, sorry, he didn't say it about that. It didn't, maybe he started it and was like, okay. And like, just, there's nothing to talk about there. So anyways, it's not just people. We are Star Wars fans. We want good Star Wars. You're going to have some fumbles. You're going to have some mediocre things, like Skeleton Crew, for example. It's winning a few, kid awards or whatever. I didn't think it was terrible. It's just wide open. It's one of those, like, it feels like a J.J. Abrams product where it's like the intro to something new, and it's like it could go in so many directions. We have no idea. It's tied to the Old Republic. There's some cool things in there. It was a fun sort of Stranger Things sort of feeling kids show, and I really liked it. And I think it just is kind of It's kind of mid, right? It's not terrible. It's not trash. It's just a mid show that you can build on. And that happens. That's going to happen naturally. We've just had too many, like if there were a bunch of mid Star Wars, I think we'd be in a better spot. Instead, there are major flops and major fumbles with the sequels, with the Kenobi series, which we love. I hope they do a Kenobi series too. But at the same time, you didn't do it the right way. And you had scripts and you have other things that come out and we're like, you had a choice to go with, I think it was, his last name's Beatty. Beatty was the writer who came out and was telling everybody what he did there. We can see your decision-making. We can see that like you had a choice to go with that, to put Commander Cody. Well, I mean, Matt just told you that like one of the most successful things in Star Wars has been Clone Wars. And you've got Commander Cody and this whole series with Rex and everyone else, and having those characters show up. You have Tamora Morrison, who could have played those characters and who would have gladly have been in the Kenobi series. That would have been epic, man. You have a whole generation of Star Wars fans that would have loved that, but they don't seem to want to feed that generation. They don't seem to want to play to what that generation who grew up with Clone Wars, they don't seem to, you know, like they love us when they want to love us and when they need us. But then they don't really, I don't know, like it feels kind of like we're disconnected from the creators. Like they're not in tune with what we want and what we loved and how we fell in love with Star Wars. So it's just hard to connect, man. And it's just too many bad decisions. And this Ben Solo one it's bringing all of that again to the surface, because we're like, how actually the only hope, like I said, it's hopeful that someone apparently, according to, it's just, I don't remember who it was exactly, but it seems like Lucasfilm was ready to do this and they thought it was a good idea. And Bob Iger actually, or whoever it was, the CEO at the time, said, no, I just don't get it. I don't see how it could happen. Well, you're not a Star Wars dude. You don't like, you have these people raving over this, and hopefully now he sees all the traffic and all the social media and the content creators, everyone, there's protests. They were flying a freaking banner over like Lucasfilm, just like letting them know like we want this to happen. Like people are signing petitions for it. So anyway,
Solo 2 happen. You know, I mean,
I know. Yeah.
It's just so disappointing, man. It's like when you hear something good, because it's like Star Wars has been so bad for so long, right? There's been so, I mean, like, obviously like Rogue One is great and Andor is great. And, you know, but it's just the way it's felt. I mean, ever since Disney bought it, it felt like there's been more negative, there's been more bad than good. And when you finally hear about something that could have been good, we get excited for it. And then it's just sitting here that it was shut down. It's just, God, it's just so disappointing.
Yeah.
And it's like, but you chose the Acolyte instead.
That's legit. That's actually legit.
You
like
chose Skeleton Crew instead.
Yeah, man. I mean, come on. Like, I don't know what the decision making there has just been poor, flat out. And it's I hate to say that, and it shows. They're moving away from, like, they've slowed things down. They've stopped announcing things. Like, clearly it has not been good and successful. And like we often say, look like across the hall at Marvel, they just did. They didn't ask for permission. They just said, we're going to have a plan. We're going to execute said plan. People got on board. You tell us, we're consumers. We're hoping that you feed. We're ready to consume your product. Like, tell us where it's going and what we're doing, and we will get on board. If you wanted to, at the sequels, you could have fed us sequel thing after sequel thing, a little sideshow with Finn becoming a Jedi. You could have gone back. There's tons of things you could have done. An animated Luke Skywalker series, anything. And we would have been like, let's freaking go. They're holding back on stuff like that. Why have you not done an animated like Jedi Academy something with Luke and created like Jedi that went on some mystical quest and weren't there?
Even this, like this Darth Maul show doesn't feel like it's gonna be. I mean, it's gonna be Maul, right? But I mean, it's gonna be more like Criminal Underworld and stuff, which again is like, it is cool. It's
sure,
just, it's
gonna be
like
cool,
not what we want right now. You know,
It's not the thing that's going to come in and really save Star Wars. And it's just like, it's to buy time. It's a Band-Aid. It's a filler, it feels like, which I know people aren't going to like to hear that. Because I love Maul. And I actually think that this show is going to be great. It's just the timing of it. It's just sort of like Matt often says, why now? And I think the why now is because we've had some fumbles and they're like, we need an ace. We need something that's going to be a win. Like, what's a sure win? And they go back to Okay, Darth Maul and Dave Filoni, that's a pretty good combination. You know what I mean? Like that's going to be a win. We can kind of count on that. We all know it. But then we're like, isn't Dave Filoni working on, like, not that he can't work on more things, you know, like several things.
Right.
Yeah. But it's just like, it feels like we're scattered, man. It just feels like we're scattered in Star Wars and we're all over the place. And people are like, well, that's how it's always been. And that's never how it's been. That's never how it's been. Literally, George Lucas said, here's 4, 5, and 6. And then he goes back and he does 1, 2, and 3. And then he builds out the Clone Wars from there and started working. And then when Lucasfilm takes over, or when George sells it, Disney gets it, Kathleen Kennedy steps in. They started the same way, which was like, all right, we're going to march, 7, 8, 9. Here we go. And then from there, it has been all over the place. And actually, even while they were doing that, they were making Rogue One. And we're like, well, okay, maybe this will work. Then they make one misstep with Solo. And they're like, we can't do that. And it's like, no, now you're going back to, like, going back to Acolyte. Now you're jumping back over here to Skeleton Crew. Now, Mando, we're back over. And it's just, it keeps on going. So pick something and stick to it. Pick something and stick to it and tell us a full fleshed out story. Like, yeah. And I hope that, like, that, even this Ben Solo thing, like, it can't happen now. I'm sort of like, you need to wait. You on the Rey show, on the Rey movie, or whatever it is, even this, like, the Starfighter thing that's happening. Why is the Starfighter thing happening right now when we're trying to finish up the Thrawn saga, and all this stuff? Like, can't we just wait? Can't we just finish that and put movies out and make that super awesome and baller? Maybe there's a cool character that survives from that we could get to see, over in this last Starfighter thing. That would be pretty cool.
Right.
But
and it still goes back to, like, the Marvel, like the Marvel schedule, right? Where it's just like, okay, you just did Fantastic Four, which was a prequel, right?
Yeah.
Even set in an alternate universe. But we know Avengers Doomsday is coming, so you still know that this movie directly ties into the next thing. Whereas with Star Wars, we're still in this, like, okay, like, you don't have to watch Skeleton Crew in order to watch Mandalorian. You didn't have to watch Andor to watch Mandalorian.
Right.
And that kind of creates a problem.
It does. Like you said, you don't have to watch Darth Maul to know what's going to happen in Ahsoka. Like, none of these things feel like must watch situations where you must watch this to know what's going to happen in the next movie or the next project. No, you don't. They're all separate. You can watch it and like it and say cool and then move on. You're not getting people invested in this story. And that's the problem, is like, there's bits and pieces of the galaxy. Well, we'll feed this sector, then we'll feed this sector. None of them seem super connected. Yeah, sure, they're all a part of the saga. I get it. They're all part of the same galaxy and the rebellion and different whatever. But no, but at the same time, they're not, because we know the story of Darth Maul. We know where he ends up. And like, I don't need to know what happens in Maul to watch this last Starfighter thing. Like, you can pick and choose what you want to watch. When you can pick and choose and just decide, I'll watch this and not this or not that,
you're not in a good spot.
Not in a good spot. No, because then you need to create an atmosphere where it's like, everything's important. We have to go watch it to know this and know that. And like, you want there to be this hype. Like, we used to have to go read, like, when the novels would come out, I would be like, oh my God, dude, I got to get that. I got to know what's happening here, because there's be some cool nugget for the new TV show, or we would go get the novelization of something so we could get the extra tidbits about, like, all the things the creators were thinking about going into the next, trilogy or the next series or whatever. And it just doesn't feel that way anymore. It doesn't feel like you have to read any of that stuff to keep up in Star Wars. And that's, maybe that's what they want. I don't know. I don't know how it's working out for them.
As we close up here, let's say something positive about Star Wars.
Good. I'm so glad. That
this might be our last podcast of the year because of scheduling and everything. So, I mean, hey, Andor was great.
Andor was phenomenal.
If you look back at this year, Andor was freaking great in Star Wars.
Yeah, and you know what's funny about that is, like, so you have those situations that, like, there's really cool things. Cassian Andor has a son or daughter, whatever. I don't know if it was confirmed, but, like, has a child, and it seems like Bix is force sensitive and growing in the force, and the force is almost kind of awakening. And that, like, Luke Skywalker's right there on the verge of stepping out on his path with Obi-Wan Kenobi. And you're like, there's this child that would clearly grow up during Luke is at his height. Luke's 18 years old. This is a child born right at the beginning of New Hope, essentially, right before. And where is that child? Is there a story for that child later on? Or if not, we don't know where would he fit at. Where would he fit into? This would be a child that's the same age as Kanan and Hera's son, right? So
Yeah.
they both would be ready to be trained in the Force, and you're like, is that Ezra Bridger? Are we going to have? Are they a part of Luke's academy? Wouldn't that be kind of cool if he took those kids on, children of the Force, and created a Jedi academy, and it was something that like mattered and was a big deal? Instead, it seems like he's going to have 5 students. So to keep it positive, I hope they do something like that. I hope there is an animated series. Got Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill can be a voice actor and come in and really tell us what happened at his academy. Maybe he trained these really awesome Jedi who were like kind of adults that were trained. And then by the time Ben Solo, think about this. Let me give you one example. So Cassian's child grows up and will be what? Gosh, 10, is it 10? Maybe more years older than like Ben Solo. So like by the time Ben Solo is trained at the academy, several generations, or at least a generation of Jedi Knights should have been trained by Luke. And Luke could, they could be out doing on a different quest or whatever. The fact that we haven't explored that is kind of mind-boggling. And it's like, I think of like, what is Kanan's son's name? He was just in the Ahsoka series. What is his name? Jason Syndulla.
Jason Syndulla.
Yeah, with the green hair. Like he can sense things in the Force. So like that's a kid who should be at Luke's academy. And he's again about, I think you guys check me on the math. I think he would be about the same age as Cassian's child. And so those two could be at the academy, and they should be people that like, Luke is searching for to build this academy. Grogu didn't work out. All right. Grogu needed to be with Mando, and that's fine. But who are these members of his academy? And let's make them a big deal. They're all dead. How dumb is that? How dumb is that, Matt? That like Ben Solo is the only survivor. Like Luke has only one student who ever survived, and it's Rey. Come off it, dude.
If
like
if every Jedi you need to create for story purposes can survive Order 66, I think Luke could have had some other survivors from his temple.
Amen, dude. A freaking man. Like there's that's got to be the case. So if we're looking for hope and something positive in Star Wars, I hope they're building something like that. It seems like with Jedi Survivor, Cal Kestis, like he's possibly going to take the path, and all of those kids who are Force sensitive, who are a little bit older than where like Jason Syndulla and Cassian's child would be. They're a little bit older. Like those kids seem to be going to Tanalorr. Tanalorr is that safe house that they've set up in the video game where it's outside of Palpatine's reach. It's in another dimension almost. It's sort of like hidden. And how long are they there for? What is it? What's going to happen with those kids? What happens with Cal Kestis? Does he train them in the ways of the Force? Like, are they? Is that a big deal? Like,
yeah, we were getting maybe we could see a trailer for that in a couple of weeks at the Game Awards.
That would be sick, man.
Because the third Jedi Survivor Fallen Order game.
Because that's been a win. You've started that, and like we talk about starting and finishing things in Star Wars, you started that video game series, and you're telling a really good story there, and you've got people invested in it. Like, tell me that those kids matter. Tell me that those characters matter, and that there's an order forming there. There's some sort of like Jedi order that's off in the galaxy, protected, like away from everything else. By the way, that's Legends. If you go look at Fate of the Jedi, well, no, it's the during the Yuzhan Vong War, they took all the children of the Force, all of these Force sensitive children, and they took them to a place called the Maul. The Maul, where it's actually where it's a prison where they kind of where Abeloth is actually imprisoned. They took all these Force sensitive children and they hid them away during the Yuzhan Vong War as like this, kind of backup, like take all of our children and let's protect them. And they took them there, and it was, they kind of, that's how they survived the war. And they actually, some of them were infected by Abeloth's presence and stuff. So there's I guess what I'm saying is that there's room for that. Like that's good storytelling. It has precedent in Legends, and it's something you could do with Cal Kestis. Seems like they're setting that up. So it's like the children of the Force is a big deal. New Jedi, a new generation of Jedi, and Rey's order is too far. It's too old to like, for these kids to like matter. Like, when is their story going to happen? When do they step into the limelight? And it's like, it's got to be at Luke's Academy. It's got to be in some sort of animated series. So I would love to pick the brains of people at Lucasfilm and just say like, are these ideas being tossed around?
Because
because if they're not,
if you're shooting down Ben Solo, then there needs to be something better to like be like, well, actually, we need to go in this direction to at least justify your reasoning behind it.
Exactly. And I wish they would, honestly, even just put some feelers out there and say like, they're kind of tipping their hand at some of the storytelling with like the video games and stuff, but you're like, you don't seem to follow through and execute on it. So we don't have real faith to like invest in the story because we're like, is this going to go anywhere? Things seem to like piddle out and die. And you're like, well, that sucks.
At least with Visions, they said, hey, look, we're going to give it a third season. And actually, I think they said they're going to try to do some more episodes of that Ninth Jedi that people said they really liked. So, I mean,
that's a good thing. That's positive. They're listening, which is awesome. So, all right. Well, hey, we tried to end it on a positive note. We'll be more positive next time. Give us more news. Give us more positive stuff to talk about. The Ben Solo stuff is a positive thing to talk about because
it could happen.
It could still happen. We know it exists. It still could happen. And I actually, the last thing I just have to say real quick, maybe it was good decision making for them not to make that show at the time when everything was Disney Plus focused and it wasn't going to be a blockbuster hit and it just wasn't the time.
Because now it has potential to be a movie.
Exactly. So that would be really cool. But all right, friends. Well, hey, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. We will be back with it might be like Christmas break or something by the time we're back.
Yeah, we might get another one. We're not entirely sure.
Yeah, we'll see. We're just we're playing it by ear here. So but we appreciate you guys. Thanks. It's always fun to be back, just hanging out in hyperspace, man. It really is. Like Matt and I come on here in these shows and just whatever comes to the old mind. It's so easy. It's so good because we've been so immersed in Star Wars for so many years. It's just it's so freaking great. So all right, guys. Hey, appreciate you. May the Force be with you. And as always, remember, traveling through hyperspace ain't like dusting crops.